it's the best feeling in the world. When we're tracking with a dog, it doesn't matter if it's my deer or your deer. I get to experience that same feeling over and over and over again. I get just as excited, sometimes more excited, when I find somebody else's deer than when I find mine. And I know I've been more excited sometimes than the hunter when there's been some ground shrinkage. It's just a feeling that's hard to describe.
Grab your gear, find your stand, and listen in as we share another journey that shapes a hunter's legacy.
Welcome back to another episode of A Hunter's Legacy, the only hunting podcast that ditches the pros for the average Joes. This week we're going a little bit different direction. I wouldn't say it totally out of the same direction, but somebody sent me some contact info for a guy that runs a tracking business here in Iowa, and I saw that the dogs he was using, so I figured I better reach out. So, how are we doing today?
Doing great.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and let everybody know where you're from, what you do outside of hunting, family, all that good stuff. Then we can kind of roll into the hunting.
Sure. So my name is John Sturtevant. I'm 68 years old, if that matters or not. And I live back in the sticks, back in the woods. We've got some real good hunting here. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome here. And we got some big timbers and some nice deer. So my wife, Kathy, and I live here. And we've got a son out in Nebraska, but that's no other family here in Iowa. And trying to think of what else you want to hear about me. I'm retired, and so I'm goofing off pretty much full time.
So our podcast is Hunting Legacy, and I know you don't have a lot of time for hunting anymore, but let's go back to how you got interested in hunting, how it all started, and where it all began.
Yeah, so like I said, I was born and raised in Ames, here in Iowa. And back then we lived on the edge of town. Now the edge of town's moved out a long ways. And so didn't come from a hunting family, but had a buddy, and he and I spent a lot of time hunting small game, pretty much anything that would move. We'd hunt it from, squirrels to rabbits to songbirds. It just didn't matter. Did a lot of trapping as well. And as time went on, I got into coon dogs, and that was a big part of my life for a long time. Coon hunting, and had a lot of dogs, and rabbit dogs, coyote dogs, that type of thing. Finally got old enough to get into deer hunting. Started off with a gun, like a lot of people do. Ended up buying a $50 compound bow from a garage sale. And then again, this is decades ago. Hunted with that a couple of years, and then bought an old recurve, and then started making my own bows. And I've made hundreds and hundreds of bows. And so now the only hunting I do now is with bows and arrows that I make. Primarily I don't get a chance to deer hunt a lot anymore, but we spend a couple of weeks in Texas pig hunting. Usually spend 3 weeks in Canada bear hunting up in bear camp there. And so that's when I get to do more hunting than I do, because I'm tracking so much here during the season.
We'll get into the tracking.
Yeah.
But so you had a buddy that hunted. If you listen to enough episodes, it's fascinating how many people get started without parents or family that hunt.
Yeah.
So what kind of hunting memories do you have with your buddy?
Well, I mean, we pretty much ran around and terrorized the Skunk River, Squaw Creek area. And again, it's all built up with houses now. But I mean, we'd take off in the morning and just spend all day with either bows and arrows, old fiberglass bows and arrows, or 22 rifles and shotguns. And we just pretty much run around shooting everything we saw. It was not what you'd recommend now, but we didn't know any better. And then we started a trap line. We'd be checking it before we went to school in the mornings, and it was a good time, a simple time, and a lot of fond memories.
I want to hear some good stories. There's got to be a
Yeah.
few that stick out with you and your buddy.
So whether or not it's what you want to hear, but some of the stories, of course, when we were trapping, and we didn't really know what we were doing, we had no guidance, no mentors. We just kind of made it up as we went along. And we'd walk early morning to go check the traps. I remember one morning we had a trap set along a fence line. My buddy crawled up the fence, looked down the other side, and he said, "Hey, we got a jackrabbit." And I said, "Well, grab it." So he reached down to grab its ears. Well, it turned out he saw the two white stripes on a skunk and grabbed the skunk, then got sprayed, come flipping over backwards, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything. And of course, all I could do was laugh. And then we had to go to school later that day. So it was pretty crazy. But
Okay. So he's just sticking his hand in holes, assuming.
no, he could just see two white lines, and he thought it was jackrabbit ears, and he was going to reach down and grab the rabbit by the ears, and he grabbed the back of the skunk.
How old were you at?
12, 13 years old, probably that range. Pretty young, before we could drive, and
Suppose he ever did that again.
no, we got sprayed by plenty of skunks again, but that was the first time anybody ever grabbed one.
Talk a little bit about trapping. Trapping's not that big anymore, just based off
No,
prices, but I hear back in the day it used to be pretty lucrative.
yeah. Now, when we were trapping, when I was into the coon hunting, and coons were worth, $44 to $5 a piece, it was pretty lucrative. The trapping, we were trapping mainly coons and muskrats, mink, a couple of fox, a couple of coyotes, a few beaver, but mostly coons and muskrats. And, back then, I think the muskrats might have been $2 or $3 a piece. Coons, maybe $7 or $8. And of course, back then, that was something, but, it wasn't something you'd get rich on. But we had a good time. And again, we weren't doing it to really try to make money. It was just to spend time in the woods.
Yeah, it's amazing how much the coon population has increased
Yep.
as prices have gone down.
Yeah. They're all over the place.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
You go out thermal coyote hunting, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of them.
Yeah. I've got food plots behind the house, and sometimes I'll run corn in one of them, and it just, the deer will leave it alone, but the coons just destroy it. And you try to thin them out, and it's just about impossible. There's just too many of them.
It's open season on them now, isn't it?
Yeah, year round you can shoot them.
It's people just still don't do it though.
No. I mean, when coons were high priced, we'd kill 100, 150 coon a year, and you'd get average $35, $40 a piece probably, and that was real good money back then. And then if somebody hit a coon on the road, the next car that came by would pick it up because it was worth quite a bit of money. But now it's just nobody bothers, and the people that do hunt coon, very seldom are they even skinning them, or they're just shooting them and leaving them lay.
I need more people doing that. I kind of want to try calling them in like coyotes.
Yeah. I tried that this winter. Didn't have any luck, but I'll try it again sometime.
So,
it looks like a lot of fun.
oh, especially if you get them coming in on a string and
Yep.
they get pretty angry.
Yep, they do. They do.
So you did a lot of trapping. What possessed you to, okay, this is what I was going to say. I was amazed at how much some of these bobcats are bringing, not in Iowa. You get out west, oh man, they bring a ton of money if you get a good one.
Yeah, back when we were trapping, we never even heard of bobcats in Iowa. I mean, now I've got them behind the house, get them on trail cameras every once in a while, but I think bobcats are about the only thing that really bring any good money now in the fur market. I think skunks actually got pretty high in the last couple of years too, but I don't know why you'd want to bother with them.
I don't know if it was for the fur though.
No, I think it was.
Really? I heard the
Yeah.
gland or something.
Is that what it was? I don't know. It's I just didn't really care because I wasn't going to start trapping skunks.
You do any trapping anymore?
No, not at all. Pretty much just the bow hunting. The tracking dogs consume most of my time.
We'll get into
Yep.
your dogs here, but I want to hear about how'd you get into building bows?
Well, I don't really know. I've always liked making things with my hands, and got involved with a group, the Iowa Traditional Bow Hunters. And there was an old guy there named Gene Winter, and he was making bows, self bows.
Self bows, yep.
Yep. And started making self bows, made a ton of them out of anything you can think of, and broke a lot of them. Then started making composite bows, bamboo backed, horn belly bows, and then fiberglass bows, laminated bows. And again, I've made hundreds of all different kinds of bows, and it's a real joy. I mean, they're fun to make, but it's a real joy to go out and hunt with something that you've made. And there's nothing wrong with the compound bows, but they're just a little too complicated to suit me and too heavy. So I really like the stick bows.
If I would have known this, I would have guided you on which episode to listen to. You're the second guy that I've had on that built self bows.
Yeah.
I'll send the episode to you, but we talked about it quite a bit. What kind of wood do you like making them out of here in Iowa?
Well, self bows, Osage, hedge.
Osage.
Yeah, Osage can't be beat. I mean, hickory works. A lot of different woods work, but Osage is the king of bow wood as far as self bows go.
Where do you find that at?
So it's all over southern Iowa, and it's you get not too far south of here, and you can find it all over in hedgerows. So it's pretty easy to come across. It's just finding a tree long enough and straight enough, then getting it dried down.
Pretty hard stuff, huh?
Real hard stuff, lasts forever.
Is that what they make? Fence posts?
Yeah, exactly. Old hedge posts, and we've pulled hedge posts out of the ground that have been there for years and made bows out of. So
really,
the stuff is real anti-rot resistant, and it's just tough as can be. So it makes a good bow.
How long do you have to fiddle with one of those to get it how you want it?
Once you know what you're doing, it doesn't take. I can make take a stave and have a bow shooting in 4 hours. 3-4 hours.
Are you kidding me?
No. But I've got a shop full of tools that help me too. And I mean, if I was doing it all with a draw knife or a knife, it'd be. But I've got a lot of power equipment, so I can do it pretty quick.
Walk us through the process.
Well, with a self bow, with the Osage in particular, and it's gnarly stuff if you've seen it. The first thing you need to do is get down to one ring along the whole back. And that's not something you can do with a machine. That's really one of the first critical parts. Normally we do that with a draw knife. And there's late wood and early wood, and so you're getting it down to one growth ring. And of course, it can be snaky, it can be kind of twisted, but that's just the way the bow is going to be. Osage is not going to be straight. And then you get it narrowed down to the width that you want. And then you start reducing the limbs down to where you can start to bend them and start to tiller the bow. And then it's just a matter, and I'm speeding this up, of finessing the limbs until you get them bending evenly, and get some knocks in it and start shooting it. I'm making it sound a lot easier than it is, but
how do you know how long to make it, the draw length and the weight and all that stuff?
Yeah, so that's trial and error. Most of the self bows I made were anywhere from 60 inches to 64 inches. I like the shorter bow. As far as draw length, like my typical draw length is 27, 28 inches. And so you would just you put a string on it, and once you could get it strung, and you'd leave it strung, and just keep pulling it back, exercising the limbs, take a little bit more off, making sure the tiller's even, and until you get it bending right and get it to the draw weight that you want at the draw length that you want. You just keep removing wood a little bit at a time.
Sounds like a fun process.
Well, it's not really that difficult. Osage is very forgiving, and you're going to break a few, but it's just wood, and you make another one. It's not a big deal.
Then what do you use on the end where you attach the string, and what do you rest the arrow on?
So you've got two options. With Osage, you can cut a shelf in if you want to, or you just build it up with a piece of leather. And, just have a piece of leather is what I usually did. I didn't like cutting shelves in as much, and would put a piece of leather on and then wrap it with a leather handle. And that would just give you, quarter to 3/8 of an inch to rest your arrow on. And that's really all you needed. Because the bow is canted normally when you're shooting, and that the arrow stays in place.
What about where you attach the strings?
You just file nocks in with a round file, and that's really all you need to do.
The last guy said he was like gluing something on the end.
Well, he might have been gluing horn nocks on. When I was making composite bows, that's what I would do too, put horn nocks on. But with the Osage, you really don't need to. It works just fine. It's tough.
Well, how many animals have you harvested with bows that you've built yourself?
Pretty much all the animals. Hundreds of deer, hogs, quite a few bears. Been to Africa a couple times, caribou. That's pretty much all I've hunted with after the first couple of years.
What was the first hunt where you harvested an animal with a bow you built yourself?
Oh, let me think. I don't know that I really remember for sure the first one. It's been, it's been 40 years ago, or longer. It would have been a deer without a doubt. And, back then we didn't worry about big deer. We shot brown deer. If they had hair, we were shooting them. And then when you're shooting it with a bow you made, you really didn't care about the size. But I'm sure it was a doe that, I shot someplace, but I really don't remember. Sorry about that.
You're good. Sounds like you took your bow all over the place.
Yeah, we did.
So where did you say you traveled to?
So I've hunted, Iowa and some other surrounding states from Iowa, for deer. I've been to Texas every year since I can remember hog hunting. We just go there. It was a late winter getaway. And it started off, we'd go for a week with a bunch of guys. Now, still going, but now it's 2 weeks. And we shoot a lot of hogs. It's a lot of fun.
What's the setup like when you're down hog hunting?
What's it like?
Yeah, walk us through how they set you up down there.
Yeah, so pretty much the ranch that we go to, it's set up as a deer ranch. He's got exotics, and he's got hogs on there too. And, most people are paying to shoot the deer, what have you. We pay to go down and shoot the hogs in February. There'll be 5 or 6 of us. And he pretty much just leaves us alone. I mean, we know the ranch. We normally use corn and just corn the roads. It's real thick and brushy. And we get them coming out to the roads, hunt them in the mornings, hunt them in the evenings, and a lot of times we'll wander around spot and stalk and shoot a few that way. I think this last year there were 6 of us, and we shot, I think, 34, 35 hogs. It gets to be work skinning them and boning them out every day, but hogs are just pure fun to hunt.
Are you doing this with bow?
Yeah, everybody's hunting with traditional bows.
Are you kidding me?
No.
So you get them out on the road with bait. What are you doing? Just hiding in the bushes or what?
Well, you can sit in a tree stand if you want to, little tripod stands, sit up about 5-10 feet, Some people will sit in a blind. Sometimes you can just, get back in the bushes. You can do all of those things. And, hogs are smart. After the first 2 or 3 days, they figure out we're there because not that many people are hunting them. And, we have to work for them. But we got enough guys hunting, and, there's enough hogs. It's hard to describe. If I could only hunt one animal the rest of my life, I'd pick hogs over anything else. It's just, you can shoot as many as you want to. They're smart. They're good eating, and they're just fun to hunt.
I'm sure a lot of farmers probably wish more people were like you.
Well, it's turned into a business down in Texas. They don't let us do it for free anymore. They charge us. So
it's kind of their own fault.
Well, they're destructive. They are, and we're lucky we don't have them in Iowa yet, or at least very many to speak of, because they can sure tear things up.
Where else have you been out with your bow?
Well, been to Africa a couple times, South Africa, Namibia, and which is fun. I mean, it's a different country's a good time. It's more shooting than hunting. At least South Africa was. Namibia was a little more hunting.
How so?
Well, so like in South Africa, you're sitting in blinds in front of water holes or hay feeders or salt licks, and there's so many animals on the ranch. It's they can bring them in pretty close, and pretty much you just pick what you want to shoot and you shoot it. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Almost too easy.
Well, it kind of is. I mean, you're not going to go over there and not shoot something. It's just impossible. And you can get them in pretty close. Where I hunted, I mean, and it's still fun, and I'm not, saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's not like chasing a big white-tailed buck in Iowa, by any means, or a bear up in Ontario. Now, Namibia, the place I hunted, it was more you could spot and stalk, sit in tree stands. You weren't really hunting so much over bait and water holes. So it was a lot more work, but it was a lot more fun.
What did you get in South Africa?
Oh, a couple warthogs, couple impala, kudu, blue wildebeest, and then in Namibia another kudu and a eland, great big sucker.
Did you bring them back?
Yeah, I brought the horns back. I didn't get anything mounted. Brought some hides back too. I've never had a deer mounted or any animal mounted. I'm just not interested in it, but I like horns.
There you go. Okay. So walk us through, I can't even pronounce the country you're just talking about, how how those hunts went down.
Yeah, so South Africa, it started off with a friend came over and said, I bought a South Africa hunt at some auction. I don't know if it's Pheasants Forever or some deer auction. I don't know. And so we're trying to get 4 or 5 couples to go over. Everybody take their wife. Do you and Kathy want to go? And so we said, yep, we'll go. So when it got down to it, my wife was the only woman that went. All the other wives backed out. So we all went over there, hunted 10 days and shot a bunch of stuff. It's just, I mean, it's a lot of work to get there, to get through customs, long flights. They put you up in some real fantastic, you stay in these lodges, and it's just first class meals. I mean, you're living pretty high on the hog when you're over there. You're spending a lot of money, but they're taking care of you pretty well. The Namibia operation was a family operation, and I think it was maybe about 15,000 acres that he had. And it's fenced, but it's 15,000 acres. Interestingly enough, I was the only hunter there for 10 days, and ate with the family. It was more low key, just more relaxed, not as commercialized, and just got to know the people a lot better. and certainly they treated us well, but it was just a little bit more like what I think Africa hunting should be.
I'm surprised they only had one person there at a time.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of the way it worked out. It's the other place was a big operation with different properties, and the one in Namibia was a smaller operation, and they took fewer hunters, and it was just him and his wife running it, and of course they had some hired help too, but yeah, it was a different deal, but a lot of fun.
Would you ever go back?
If I did, I would go to Namibia, and I don't know. I mean, you spend a lot of money, and I've been there, done that. I have just as much fun hunting down in Texas, shooting pigs. Frankly, it's and it doesn't take as long to get down there. And, my wife and I go. We take the camper down, 3 dogs, spend a couple weeks. It's just as much fun for me.
Yeah, I interviewed a guy that went to, I can't remember what part of Africa, but shot a leopard and
Yeah.
zebra and water buffalo.
Yep.
That'd be pretty intense.
Yeah, it is. And of course, it's it can play tricks on you. If you make a bad shot, draw blood, you're paying for the animal. It's so there's just a little extra stress on you.
Are you really?
Yep. Yep. And I see why they do it. This is their livelihood. They don't want people taking pot shots, so you make real sure that when you let an arrow go, that you're gonna make a good hit, because you're gonna buy the animal.
That's in South Africa?
That's South Africa and Namibia,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure it's that way any Africa hunt that you go on.
It makes sense.
Yep.
That wouldn't be very fun drawing blood on a $30,000 animal.
No,
Not
it would
retrieving.
not. Yeah, so you do a lot of practice ahead of time, and take close shots.
Yep. Let's go through some bear hunts in Canada, and then we can kind of go on to your.
So I've been going up there. I can't even tell you how many years to Canada. I started off spring hunting, and then they outlawed that spring hunt, and so we ended up shifting to which they've got back in place now, shifted to a fall hunt, and really enjoyed that more than the spring hunt. The place that we're going now, it's not that far. We can drive up there in a day. We'll be leaving here, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks. I go up a week before season and start running baits. And I think that Kathy and I have been up there 18, 19 years now. And so we know the area pretty good. We like this place because the guy's got the territory. He's got the bait because we can't bring it in. And then he just leaves me alone. And it's all up to me to do it from there. And typically, we've always taken another couple up and some different people and, help them shoot a bear. But I've got to the point now, this year I've got a guy from Indiana that's going to come up, and who I don't even know, but I'm going to try to help him get a bear. Whether I shoot one or not, I don't know. I'm kind of shot enough of them, but we'll just wait and see. I enjoy the baiting, running the trail cameras, just as much as the hunting. And it's a lot of work, but I enjoy it a lot.
What part of Canada are you in?
So we're in Ontario, up around Atikokan, not too far from where some of the fires are now. So hopefully they'll stay out of the area. And we've got a lot of territory that we can hunt. And then we've got a cabin right on the lake, good fishing if you like to fish. So you run baits, hunt, fish, pretty much do what you want to do. We take the dogs up with us. We can track bears with our tackles, and that's really what I'm hoping to do. Is I've got a new pup. I want to get her on her first bear this year, and see what she does. So
let's go through one of your favorite bear hunts up there, and then we can get on these dogs.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good hunts. I know that you normally ask about what do you call it? Something stupid you've done?
Oh, embarrassing stories.
Yeah, I've got a real good one about bear hunting, so I won't tell you that one yet. A good bear story. There's a bear up there, and of course you name the baits. Sometimes you name the bears. So there's a big bear that I'd hunted for 3 or 4 years named Grumpy because the first time the camp owner went in to open up some baits in July, the bear got grumpy with him, and he's a great big sucker. And I'd hunted him quite a bit, and we'd have him on trail camera. Never saw him, never could get a shot at him at all. And he'd come in right after we'd leave. He'd be there before we'd get there. It's just he would circle the bait. We just couldn't get it done. And here 2 years ago, I was hunting another bait called Bridge Out, and I decided that I didn't really want to shoot a bear because Grumpy was the only big one around. I just didn't feel like killing one. And my buddy who was there, him and his wife had already gone home. I was hunting alone and sitting at again this bait called Bridge Out, and it's probably a mile away from the Grumpy bait. Here it's getting dark. There was a couple little bears that were in. Well, here came a huge bear. I mean, just came walking in right at dark. And I thought, man, that looks like Grumpy, but I wouldn't think he'd be over here. So I shot, made a good hit, I thought, and it was weird. He was maybe 15 yards away. The arrow hit, didn't go all the way through, which is unusual. And he just stood there, kind of looking around. And I'm thinking, he acts like he doesn't even feel that. I mean, this bear's huge. So finally, he took a few steps, took off running, and I didn't hear him go down. And I thought, I think I'm just going to wait till tomorrow morning to track him instead of doing it at night. So went out there the next morning, got a guy from camp that I knew. We went out there. I took my dog, and I knew the direction the bear had run, and I thought he had died if he was going to die, which he should have, down by the swamp. Took the dog got on the track, tracked it down to the swamp, and then started going up this big hill. And I'm thinking, I don't think he went up there. Looked up the hill, and there's my lighted knock laying up there, and there's Grumpy laying there dead. So I get up there, and he was usually bears, like they're always smaller when you see them dead. They look bigger alive. There's always some ground shrinkage. Well, this guy got bigger. And so he was bigger than I thought he was. I got him rolled down the hill, and it's funny seeing a little 19, 20-pound dachshund chew it on this great big bear, just under 500 pounds. Anyway, got him gutted, and me and this guy were going to try to get him out. Well, we couldn't move him hardly. We'd be pulling on him. We could make him maybe, it'd be 1, 2, 3 pull. We'd get maybe 3, 4 inches. So we realized this ain't going to work. So we got him called back to camp, got 3 or 4 other great big guys to come, and finally got him in a big bear sled. And we had 4 people pulling on him at the same time, and we had to go up a hill. And, it wasn't that far to the truck, but as we kept, we could, again, it was 1, 2, 3, heave, pull, he'd go a foot. And so that's all we could do. And we finally got him to the truck, got him loaded in a carrier. And all the time I was wondering, what if this is Grumpy? Never got another picture of Grumpy after that. So it turned out to be that bear. And he had fat on him. I mean, 5, 6 inches thick. It's kind of disgusting, but man, he was big. Yeah, so that's the biggest bear I've ever killed.
Was it one of the biggest ones ever taken off that farm?
Well, it's not really a farm. It's all Queensland up there, but they've had bears in the 500, 600 pound range, but normally they're around the dump. But so the ones out in the wilderness, they average probably 200 pounds. And so that's the biggest bear. I've seen a lot of bears. That's the biggest one I've seen in this area. You get out in Western Canada or farther north, you're going to get into bigger bears. This area doesn't have that many huge ones like that. So it was a good time.
Were they shocked when they seen how big the bear was?
Yep. Yep. And it was no fun to skin him. And I was by myself because everybody else went fishing. It
Really?
was, yeah, it was something else. It took a long time.
You bring the cape back with you?
Yeah, I brought the hide back and the meat, had it all made into bear sticks, like deer sticks, but out of bear, which is pretty good.
Gets kind of greasy, doesn't it?
It does. Normally we just make burger out of bear, and it's actually pretty good. But it's there's a lot of fat. But once you trim the fat off, you've got some good lean meat. There's just a lot of fat in the fall. The spring bears aren't so bad.
I'll have to put that on my wish list to go up there and shoot a bear.
Yeah, it's fun. Um, the For me, the bear hunting process, I wouldn't want to do it where you went to a place, they did all the baiting, and told you there's a good bear here, go sit there. I like, we put the stands up, we do the baiting, check them every day, decide where we want to sit, moving stands around. Just running the baits, we're driving, 30, 35 miles a day, doing that back on these back roads.
I was going to say 35 miles isn't much in Iowa.
No, it is there when you're running on these old logging roads, back roads.
Are you hauling all that stuff up there?
So legally, you cannot take bait from the United States up into Canada. So the outfitter has to supply that. And I've tried to haul it up there before, and it didn't work out too well. And it's kind of silly, but that's the way it is. Because it's 55-gallon drums full of old granola or marshmallows or licorice or, what have you. So it's
Making me hungry.
yeah, yeah.
Tree stands and barrels, are you hauling any of that stuff up?
I haul tree stands up, and we cover the baits with logs. We don't put it in barrels. It's just the bait comes in big barrels, and then we fill buckets every day, haul it out to the bait sites. And what's interesting is we found that cell cameras actually work up there. Found that out a couple years ago, and that can be a lot of fun. Yeah, if they're on AT&T. Verizon doesn't work, but AT&T does.
You didn't have cell service up there, but the trail cameras work, or what?
So we've got pretty good cell service, but for some reason AT&T works better, and the cell cameras, like the Tacticams that are on Verizon, won't work up there. But if you've got them on AT&T as a provider, they work really, really well. And it's fun because we've got people here back home and others that I can, different friends, they can get onto the account and watch the bears, come and go. And it's, fun for other folks as well.
And are you taking your truck out to all these bait piles, or do you have...
Yep. No, just taking a truck. No, using a truck and scratching it all up as we're doing it. So
hopefully you have pretty good suspension.
Yep, pretty good.
What's the wife do while you're out doing that stuff?
So we haul it. I mean, if we're up there for 3 weeks, we haul a lot of stuff. She's into a lot of fiber arts and sewing, and so she takes spinning wheels up, looms, sewing machines, and kind of works on her craft stuff in the cabin while we're up there.
Okay, so nice little getaway, huh?
Well, it's a beautiful cabin right on the lake, big picture windows overlooking the lake. Yeah, so it's a good time. It's just a relaxing good time.
And the dogs like the getaway too?
Oh, yeah. Yep, they do. The dogs dogs just want to be with us. It doesn't matter where we're at.
So I reached out because I saw the type of dog you're using for tracking.
Yep.
And I've always been fascinating with this breed because I think they're bred to pull badgers out of holes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So fill us in on your dogs, or how you got into these dogs.
Well, I'll start off at the beginning. So I got interested I had the coon dogs. I've always had dogs. And, I just can't imagine why anybody wouldn't have a dog. So ran into tracking dogs in Texas, ran into them in Africa, kind of got interested in them back here in 2018, 2019, when they were working to try to get tracking legalized, and then it pretty much did in 2020. I was following that. I had an old dog that was a Catahoula boxer cross of all things. And, again, we live back in the woods here, and this dog wasn't a hunting dog, wasn't a tracking dog. It was just a dog that went with me everywhere. If I'm putting up tree stands, the dog's with me. If I'm checking food plots, the dog's with me. If I'm tracking a deer, the dog would follow me, and go. And pretty soon she figured out what we were doing. And after a while, we'd start to track a deer, and she'd be at the deer before we'd get there. And about that time, she just kind of figured out tracking on her own. And of course, this is all off leash. I'm not really trying to track with her. Well, then it got legalized. And so I thought, well, I'm going to train her, how to track, which was foolish on my part because I didn't know anything. She just started to get pretty darn good, and she got cancer and she died. And I was just tracking for myself and some neighbors at that point in time. And, I knew I needed to get another dog. By then, I was really getting excited about the tracking, had no clue what I was doing, started researching breeds, and I retired in 2020, and Kathy and I wanted to do more traveling, and decided I started looking at different breeds and thought I really didn't like little dogs at all. I've always liked big dogs. But the more I read about these teckles, the wire-haired dachshunds, and paid attention to them, the more interesting I got. So I started talking to some breeders, to some people that had them, and thought, well, I'm just going to try it out. And found a breeder down in Missouri that I trusted, and put a deposit in for a puppy. He called me about, and it takes a long time. These people have a long waiting list. These are dogs that are imported from Europe with European backgrounds, and so they're not like your American wiener dogs. These are completely different breeds.
They're still wiener dogs, right?
What's that? They're still dachshunds. They're still dachshunds.
Still wiener dogs.
Yeah, they still are, but they're very different acting.
Yep.
They've got different breeding behind them. I'll just put it that way. Anyway, he called me. He had a 5-year-old female that he had raised puppies with, and I was tired of waiting for a puppy, frankly. And he said, she's had some training, but she's just never had a chance. She's a smaller dog, and I'm going to sell her. She's too small to have puppies anymore. She's getting older, and the last one, was a cesarean, and she wouldn't claim the pup. So I thought, well, maybe that'd be a way to get started. So we went down, met the guy, met the dog, bought the dog, brought it back. That was in January. I think it was 4 years ago. Brought the dog back, and again, it hadn't been on deer. And deer season was still open. There was a little bit of snow on the ground, not much. I went out behind the house, shot a doe the day after I got her home. And I didn't try to make a bad shot, but I didn't hit the deer perfect. And off it goes. So I thought, well, I got this dog. So let it go, went out late that night, took the dog. She got on the track, and I couldn't see any blood, and she goes right to it. And I mean, it just blew me away. And she didn't know me. I didn't know her. I didn't know what I was doing. And so, of course, then season ended. We spent all summer, laying practice tracks and working with her. And then come the fall, started tracking for other people, started tracking for the public. And I don't charge to track, just track for the fun of it. And, tracked quite a few deer with her. She found quite a few deer. She was doing pretty well. Took her to Texas pig hunting. She was finding hogs. Took her to Canada bear hunting. It was funny. The first bear I put her on in Canada, bears are easy to track for dogs. They stink. They just leave a lot of scent. So I shot a bear. I knew it was dead. I could hear it. I could hear the death moan, and I didn't track it. I just got out of the woods. I shot it early in the morning. Went and got her, went back 3-4 hours later, put her on the track. She tracked to the bear, which was no big deal. It's the first time she'd ever smelled a bear. She gets up to it and just when she comes up to a deer that she's tracked, she tears into it and just starts pulling hair out. Just if you don't watch her, she'll rip the ears off. And so, and you really got to pay attention. I mean, she gets pretty aggressive. She runs into this bear and just slams on the brakes and just turns around and looks at me like, "What is this thing?" She wouldn't touch it. So she kind of knows it a little bit. Now she'll tear into it. So it was kind of funny. So anyway, that particular dog, her name's Anna. She's 8 years old, going to be 9 this fall. Last year, I got another puppy that I've been working with, and her name's Tally. And so I've got 2 dogs now. And so when I track, I take both dogs and switch them out. And they're both certified. We go through the testing procedures, and I spend all summer. In fact, I was running a track this morning with a young dog, laying mock tracks for them. We've got there's shoes that are made. You cut off deer feet and you mount them to the bottom of the shoes, and then you lay mock tracks in the woods. It's the goofiest thing you've seen. And then take the dogs out 12, 24 hours later, whatever, and have the dog track the mock track.
12 to 24 hours later?
So most deer that you track, varies. I mean, sometimes you track a deer sooner than 12 hours, but usually you want to wait because normally when you're tracking a deer,
Yeah, especially if you're calling a dog, it's more likely probably not.
Yeah, I mean, so if it's a puppy track, meaning it's a good shot, you got a puppy, you may track it, in an hour, 2, 3, 4, but usually like gut shots in the rut, you're waiting 24 hours, sometimes longer. So, I mean, you want to practice like you train, or or train like you fight. And so, yeah, when we're laying mock tracks, usually you want them minimum of 12 hours, and we like to push in the 24 hour range usually.
You're just out stomping around, huh?
Well, you lay tracks, you do 90-degree turns, back tracks, cross cricks, terrain challenges. You try to mess the dog up. Put them into situations that they have to think through, reason things out. I'm convinced, and again, I'm not an expert tracker by any means. I've got more to learn than I know. It's and it'll probably always be that way. The mock tracks really help. You've got to be able to read your dog, read the dog's body language, know when they're on the track, off the track, proximity alerts, know when they're off, crittering, meaning if they get sidetracked on something they shouldn't. You need to be able to read their body language. The best way to do that's with these mock tracks. And, I'm convinced the dog does most of its learning on real deer during the season. But as the handler, I do most of my learning in the off season. Plus, it's just a lot of fun to spend time with your dog. It's enjoyable. I lay tracks all summer long.
When a dog's tracking a down deer, are they tracking the tracks or the blood?
Well, they're tracking a cocktail of scents, and blood can be part of it. Of course, if you've got plenty of blood, you don't need us. The science behind it, I believe there's a lot that's not known, but a cocktail of scents could be pheromones. Declining health pheromones is an example, which would be the same thing. Let's say out west, how do the wolves know which elk to pick on, which one is sick, which one is injured? So they're tracking declining health pheromones. Some of that comes from the interdigital gland between the deer's hoof. Do you know what I'm talking about there?
Mm-hmm.
If you were to spread apart a deer's hoof, both front and back, there's a little pocket that goes back in, and there's a waxy substance. And when they stomp their feet on the ground as an alert, it's putting that waxy substance out, and it's individualized for every deer. So when a deer is wounded, when it's injured, the adrenaline's going, the declining health pheromones going. They're putting out this fear scent, this injured scent, And that's typically what the dog is honing in on. The dog does not need blood at all. And it's nice when it's there because then we can confirm that the dog's on the right line to see some blood every once in a while, but the dog doesn't need it. But I mean, it can be dander, it's saliva. There's just a lot of things that are coming off the deer as it's wounded. And one of the things that's interesting, and it's hard to explain to a hunter, is after a while the dog will know, is the deer wounded? Is this deer going to die? Meaning they're trained. We don't want these dogs tracking healthy deer. So if a deer is first hit with an arrow or a bullet, they're alarmed, they're hurt, they put off these good scents that the dog want to track. But if it's just a flesh wound, after 200, 300, 400 yards, the deer realizes, I'm okay. It's not hurting. It goes back to normal. And the dog at that point in time is just tracking any other deer. So it's just like, here last year I ran my finger into a bandsaw, and, there was 10 seconds that I thought maybe my finger was gone. And I mean, it hurt. I was scared. It's just, I'm sure I was putting off a lot of declining health pheromones myself. Then after a while, I realized, I'm okay. This is not a big deal. Just go get some stitches. It's the same thing with the deer. But now if the deer is fatally hit, the farther they go, the more of these pheromones they put off. And again, that's what the dog is zeroing in on. And that's what they're tracking. And that's what we train them to track.
How do you know which set of tracks to get on? Because obviously the hunter probably knows where he connected, but there might be other tracks in the vicinity.
Yeah. So sometimes it takes a little while to work things out. The dog normally tells us that. And so we'll take, every situation's different. Typically, you go off on a track, the hunter's going to say the deer was here when I hit it. Then I like to start at the hit site if we can. The deer ran that way. I've tracked the deer. I had blood for 100 yards, 200 yards. Normally, it's not all the time, but normally they've got a little bit of blood that'll give them a direction that the hunters tried to track. And then they lose blood, call us, or they know they've hit it in the gut. But there's usually some hair. There's usually some sign that'll help us figure out is the dog on the right line. If there's not, I trust the dogs enough that they're going to pick that up, and we just give them the find it command, and they will. And so we've been on some tracks to where a little bit of hair at the hit site and nothing else, and haven't found the arrow, never saw any blood, but we ended up with a dead deer. And so we're just relying on the dog to pick the right deer out then. And again, that's what we've trained them for. What's interesting is you can be on a track, and if it's a non-fatal hit, the dog's going to tell you that. After a while, the dog loses interest and starts whether screwing around, looking back at you. My older dog, it'll start trying to find something more interesting to do. And I normally tell the hunter when I got my older dog, if she doesn't think your deer's dead, she'll start looking in holes in the ground, brush piles, hollow logs. She hates coons. She'll start trying to find a coon to kill is what she'll do. If she's on a dead deer, she won't do that. And so it's pretty hard to tell a hunter, hey, my dog doesn't think your deer's dead. That just doesn't go over very well. So what we end up doing is I tell the hunter that at the beginning of the track, just to let him know what to expect. And even when that happens, normally we will spend more time on a deer that's non-fatally hit, not dead, just in case, than we do on a dead deer. So I mean, we keep trying to track the deer, but the scent, the cocktail of scent that the dog wants is just not there after a while. And it sounds crazy, but every tracker will tell you the same thing. Their dog will tell them if the deer's not fatally wounded.
Where'd you learn all this stuff at?
From smarter trackers than I am. and I'm learning every day. So I go to seminars, I go to tracking events around the country. There's a couple of trackers here in Iowa with a great deal of experience that were tracking before it became legal in Iowa and other states, and do a lot of reading about it. It's uh, uh, making a lot of mistakes. A lot of it I've learned on my own, but I found that there's good knowledge out there. There's people that have been doing this in states where it's been legal for many, many years, and the knowledge is there. You just got to be open-minded, listen, pay attention, and talk to the right people.
What do you suppose your success rate is?
So the national average success rate, proven time and time again with a leashed tracking dog, is around 40%. And what that means is you track 10 deer, you're going to find 4 of them dead. Now you may go on a streak to where you track 10 deer in a row and none of them are dead. Then you might find 7 deer, 6 or 7 deer in a row. But you track 100 deer, it's going to average out. And again, that's been proven over and over again for quite a few years by a lot of trackers by collecting data. Now that doesn't mean that we're leaving 6 deer in the woods. It just means the other deer are not dead. Typically, if a deer is dead, we're going to find, not everyone, but almost all of them. 95% plus. You don't find them all, but and it's gut wrenching when you leave one, but it happens to everybody.
What do you think of the drones compared to dogs?
It's an interesting question, and hardly anyone can say there's nothing bad about recovering more deer. There's nothing but positive things about when people shoot a deer, they're fatally wounded, that they can end up in the back of somebody's pickup. When they're left in the woods, people are using tags over again. When it comes to resource management, finding every deer that's wounded that is fatally hit is nothing but a good thing. When it comes to drones, the concern is that drones work. I've spent a lot of time researching drones. There was another bill in the legislation this year. I actually went to the subcommittee meeting and spent a little time talking about it, trying to get educated. And I'm not opposed to drones. The problem is they've got to be regulated. There's so many opportunities for misuse. So what I spent a lot of time doing, if you want to learn about dog tracking, talk to a dog tracker. You want to learn about drones, talk to a drone guy. If you want to learn about how dogs and drones compare, talk to somebody that runs both. And that's what I've done. Is I know some people in states where it's legal. They've got good tracking dogs and they've got a drone. Everyone I've talked to that has both has told me they don't use the drone all that much, and they've found that a drone will never find a deer that a good tracking dog won't. But good tracking dogs will find a lot of deer that a drone won't. And it doesn't mean that drones aren't effective. They don't work in September, October very well when there's heavy canopy. They can't tell you a lot about what's going on with the track. We can read the arrow, blood sign, the terrain. We learn a lot about what's going on with the deer. There's just a story that the dogs will tell us, and the track will tell us. The drones, when the canopy is opened up, all the leaves are gone, or you're out in the middle of a CRP field, they're pretty effective. But they're sure prone to abuse. And does that mean that they shouldn't be legalized? I don't know. That's a slippery slope. There has to be legislation that is very tight to keep that abuse from occurring. And the penalties have to be high enough to make it, not something you'd want to do with a drone. I'd even toyed with the idea that I don't want a drone. I don't want to find deer with a drone. I want to follow my dog. And so I've toyed with the idea that if it became legal in Iowa, I think it's legal in 14 states. in the United States last I looked. If it became legal in Iowa, that I would probably buy a drone, and I would give the hunter the option. I will track for free with the dog, but if you really want a drone, then I'd have to charge, because you're spending $10,000-$12,000 for a drone and insurance and all of that type of stuff. But I'm hoping, my desire is that it doesn't get legalized in Iowa. I just think it's going to cause a lot of problems. The last legislation, they had modified the bill to try to get it pushed to the next committee, and to get it by, they said you could only run the drone at night, and you couldn't fly the drone over public property. And 40% of my tracks are on public property, so it would kind of make the drone not very effective in my mind. So I don't know if that answers your question.
I think there's a lot of people that still do it in Iowa, even though you're not supposed to.
Oh yeah, they do. And there's been some pretty big fines about it. And it's, but yeah, they're doing it. Anything that can be done, man's going to find a way to abuse it. So yeah, they're certainly being used.
I'd be okay if they're allowed and regulated. I do not like scouting with drones at all. That is way too far.
And how on earth would you ever stop that from happening? It's hard to do. Missouri, drones are legal in Missouri. Every state has a trackers map. Iowa Blood Trackers Association has one. It lists all the dog trackers in Iowa. Missouri does too. Missouri also has a drone map that lists all the drone trackers in Iowa, or in Missouri. There's probably twice as many drone operators in Missouri as there are dog trackers. And people are just fascinated with the technology. And the technology is fascinating. It's amazing what these drones can do. And I can see where they'd be a lot of fun in some cases if you didn't crash it. The problem, the drone operators typically will charge, $250 to $300 to $400 to come out. They a lot of times don't use proper wait times, and this isn't always the case, but it can be, to where you call me, I got a drone, you gut shot a deer, I bring the drone out in 6 hours, find the deer, still alive, tell you where it's at, is what they'll normally do, but the deer's not dead. So you go out the next day, the deer's gone. It's got up and moved. Then what do? You look around for it, call the drone guy back, he comes back, charges you again to find the deer. It's so a lot of times they're not exercising proper wait times, and normally you get a dog tracker with a drone. They will, but normally they'll just use their dog, because they know the dog's more effective.
They have their place, but they're going to get abused too much.
Yeah, well, anything can be abused. One of the things I pointed out at the subcommittee meeting is it's easy to abuse a drone. It's very hard to regulate it. The DNR, for the most part, they're not in favor of it, at least the officers that I've talked to, primarily because they don't know how they're going to enforce any laws. When it comes to dog tracking, the primary laws are I've got to have a dog on a leash at all times, and I cannot track on private property without permission. So you shoot a deer, it goes onto private property, you've got a blood trail, you can go onto that private property without permission and track that deer without landowner's permission. With a dog, we can't do that. It's a hard stop. We just won't do it. It's in the law. So the abuse of dogs would be running them off leash or trespassing. Those are the primary things. And most tracks I go on, I'm getting my picture taken on a trail camera. A dog tracker's not going to get away with too much when it comes to trespassing or running off leash, that type of thing. But a drone in the sky, it's a whole different thing. So again, if there was a way to use drones without them being abused, it's another tool to find deer. There's nothing but positive things with that. I just don't know how they would ever legislate it to where you could avoid the abuse.
I'm surprised they haven't gotten to where they can track drones like they can airplanes.
Well, I'm guessing maybe they can. I don't know enough about it
I
to
bet they
know that,
can.
I bet the feds can somehow, but I don't know.
There'll be a day where DNR can look at a map and see all the drones up in the sky.
Yep. Well, I hope so. Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah, there's just too many people using them for scouting.
Yep. My mind, a dog, a good experienced tracking team is going to find every deer that a drone will find, and some that they won't. Why would people want to use a drone over a dog? The only answer can be people trust technology, you know, uh, more than dogs, and they're worried about their property being disturbed, and they think that a drone will not disturb the property as much as a dog will. And certainly, walking through property with a dog and 3 or 4 people can bump the deer around. They don't blow out of the country. They pretty much just get out of the way and uh, come back later. So the dogs don't really disturb as much as people think they do. They certainly don't disturb as much as 5 or 6 people grid searching the property.
Yeah, faster reward with the drone.
It is faster reward and not as much work. You sit in the truck, watch the screen. Tracking with a dog is a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm glad they legalized that in Iowa. It
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
really make sense that it was illegal.
Never made sense.
Is there still states that have it illegal?
Yeah, I should be able to tell you. I think there's 2 or 3 states where it's still illegal. I think California might be one of them. Arizona is one of them for sure. Um, and I'm not sure about the other states.
It just doesn't make any sense.
No, no, it doesn't. It sure doesn't.
Yeah, it's interesting that the dogs you have, are they bred for blood tracking or tracking?
Yeah, yeah. So Teckles are bred they're a versatile breed, the wire-haired dachshunds. Um, they use them for tracking in Europe. They use them for hunting. They use them for underground work. Uh, I mean, you can use them from anything from duck hunting to chasing hogs to underground work on foxes, rabbits, that type of thing, to tracking. But mostly they're used for tracking. And the breeder that we've worked with has imported all his dogs from Europe. In fact, my older dog was born in Quebec. It was a French breeder that actually moved to Quebec, and her papers were all in French, and I couldn't read them.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Never heard of anybody tracking with a dachshund before.
Well, so tracking in the United States started up in the northeast states, and they started tracking with dachshunds. So the person that worked hard to get it legalized in the United States, that's what he tracked with. There's a lot of people using them.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There really are. They're great little trackers. Easy to carry around. These are house dogs. They don't shed. Got good temperaments. My young dog's a little insane and crazy, but the old dog's as sweet as can be. And yeah, they're just nice dogs. Nice family dogs.
I'll have to look into them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably not very good pheasant hunting, no.
People use them for that. I mean, I don't and haven't, but the versatile breeds will pretty much any kind of game you want to train them on, they're capable of it.
Really?
Yeah. Yep, they are.
I'll have to look into that.
Yep. Neat little dogs.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So tracking's, just now I don't get a bow hunt too much. And, there's been times I do most of my hunting behind the house, and I'll go out in the morning and think I'm going to hunt. I'll get a text. There's a track. I'll get down. I mean, I could care less about the hunting. I'd rather track any day than hunt. And it's kind of surprised me because I'm the guy that used to bow hunt pretty much every day of the season. That's what I lived for. And I still like to hunt, still like to shoot stuff, but if I can track, it's the heck with the hunting. Yeah, I'll track any day. And it's interesting, and it's people have asked me why is this so much fun? It's just you're ate up with it. And one way to describe it is when you shoot a deer and you make a less than perfect shot, the feeling that you've got, and or even if you make a good shot, unless you see it fall in sight, there's always this nag, this little worry about, am I going to find this deer? And you finally start looking for it, even if it's a good shot and you've got a good blood trail, and you eventually walk up on that deer and you see antlers sticking up or the white belly. And there's just this feeling of joy, accomplishment, relief. It feels good. Do you know what I'm talking about
Oh
when you
yeah.
see that deer laying there? It's the best feeling in the world. Well, when we're tracking with a dog, it doesn't matter if it's my deer or your deer. I get to experience that same feeling over and over and over again. I get just as excited, sometimes more excited, when I find somebody else's deer than when I find mine. And I know I've been more excited sometimes than the hunter when there's been some ground shrinkage. It's just a feeling that's hard to describe, but I get to live that over and over and over again. And to be able to help people put closure to their hunt, to be able to watch the dog work and just do some amazing things and know this deer would have never been found without this little dog. Never would have been found. It feels good. Just it feels good to see the reaction that people have. Uh, it's hard to describe, but that's the best way that I can describe it. So
I think you did a pretty good job describing it.
yeah,
Well, you ready to start wrapping this up? I don't know if you caught any of the rapid fire questions.
surprised we've talked this long. I did catch some of them. Whether they're the same or not, I don't know.
I do the same ones every time. So, best hunting gear purchase you've made.
Well, the best purchase has been all the tools to be able to make my own bows. But beyond that would be some of the warm weather clothing that I've got, whether it's Sitka, Coat of Silence, some of this stuff that I get to hunt second bow season because we don't get many tracks. So I'll do more hunting then, the first part of January than I will in November. And it's cold. So some of this cold weather clothing has just saved my butt. And it's expensive, but it's worth every dime.
I know that as well. What about the
Yeah.
most gimmicky hunting purchase?
I haven't bought a lot of gimmicky stuff, but years ago played around with different scent control things and just realized this is silly. I just got to play the wind. I stink enough that if the wind's wrong, they're going to smell me no matter what I do. And so any of the scent controlled stuff I've got no use for at all.
Hunting luck versus skill percentage breakdown.
Skill probably 80%, luck probably 20%, I would guess.
Very good. Most controversial hunting hot take.
You know, man commercializes anything that people value. It just does. And so I understand building businesses around making hunting gear and equipment or guiding people hunting. Hunting as a business as a whole, I struggle with. And I'm old school, an older guy. If I was in my 20s, I might buy into it. I might be feeling differently, but I just grew up in a different era. And as hunting has turned into a business or a industry, uh, I just have a hard time with that. It just takes some of the satisfaction, some of the romance out of it. I just don't like it. Um, at all.
Yeah, it's easy to drift away because I'm kind of the same way. That's why I started this podcast.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, I've got different memories, and I hate to think of a lot of young people growing up not uh, sharing the same type of memories. It's just all about the equipment, and the accomplishment, and sense of self worth, whether they shoot a big buck or not. Being disappointed at shooting a little buck, I've shot a lot of little bucks, and tons of does, and just been delighted with them. Um, and when I see it, people walking up to a smaller buck and they're just disappointed, and they've taken the life of this animal, and they're unhappy. It's just wrong. It's just not the way it's not the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's kind of how everybody was conditioned, right?
Yep, it is.
What about most underrated hunting tactic?
You know, I've shot a lot of deer, and always been very successful shooting them. Probably because I was able to hunt a lot more than most people. But the advice that I've always given people, and the reason that I see people not successful, is their shooting abilities. And I'm 100% convinced that more people would be more successful hunting if they just hit where they're supposed to, take the right shot angle. And again, I see that as a tracker all the time. People are taking quartering two shots, too far shots. I hear constantly, well, it's the only shot the deer gave me. Then you didn't have a shot. Just wait. All you've done is just wounded this deer, and we're not going to find it. So people knowing when to shoot, when not to shoot, and being able to hit what they're shooting at will be more successful than any gimmick, gadget, anything that you can buy. Um, Being able to hit the mark.
Yep.
Makes sense?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, let's bring out these embarrassing stories.
So here's one about a bear hunt. And it sounds worse. I mean, it makes me sound like a total idiot, but you kind of had to be there. And so in 2020, when COVID hit, they shut down the border, and we're all excited about going up bear hunting. They shut it down. We couldn't go. So we missed a year. In 2021, still wasn't open. We're waiting for the border to open up. A month before the season opens up, August 15th. A month before season opens, they finally open the border. And so we're scrambling. And the people we'd planned to go up with, it was too late. They had other plans. So it's just Kathy and I. And I'm the only bear hunter. Got 2 weeks to hunt. And they had a drought up there. It was super dry, no blueberries, which has a big impact on the baits. And the bears were everywhere hitting the baits all day long. It was the best hunting I've had, period. It was just, the baits were just getting hammered, day and night. Well, I was hunting grumpy, and I had made up my mind that I was only going to shoot him. Couldn't get it done. It was the last day to hunt. I was up there, hunted grumpy that morning. He was there before I got there. Camera showed he was there right after I left. And so I thought, well, there's a big sow coming into another bait, usually about 2 o'clock. So I decided to go hunt that bear, and think, well, maybe I'll shoot that bear. I'll just, just see what happens. So I go get set up, and typically we're hunting ladder stands, with just two sections. So I'm 10 feet up, and I like to be within 10 yards. I mean, close shots, easy shots. No, there's no reason to be any farther. So this bear came in right on time. It's a nice bear, maybe a little bigger than it turned out to be bigger than I thought. Would never give me a shot. It would come in, lay down, facing me, facing away, grab a piece of bait, walk off. I just couldn't get a good shot. And finally, I got frustrated, and it was walking away. Had pretty good shot. Drew back, shot, heard a crack, hit it too far forward, look like poor penetration. The bear takes off, and I'm thinking, oh no, what did you just do? So I thought, well, I get down out of the stand, find my arrow about 10 yards away. It only had gone in, maybe 5, 6 inches, but there was blood everywhere. It was hot. Um, One of the things I didn't mention is I tend to hunt in flip flops a lot because I don't like shoes. So I'm sitting in this tree in flip flops, and of course, if I had to track a bear, I'd go get boots on. So I get down, find the arrow. There's this heavy, heavy blood trail. And I thought, well, this doesn't make any sense. So I start following the blood trail, and it gets heavier and heavier. And I mean, blood everywhere. So I'm walking down this trail, following this bear, holding onto this arrow. I wasn't smart enough to grab my bow. Kept following, got about 150 yards in. I'm thinking, with all this blood, this bear's got to be dead. I'm doing everything I tell everybody not to do. Get up there, and this bear went into a dried out, swampy area that was just full of dead trees and thick, tall brush. Jump the bear, and it takes off. Well, that's not good. So I should have gone back and got my bow. I didn't. And the bear ran about 50 yards, stopped, and I thought, maybe it fell over dead. So I kept tracking, and all I've got's this arrow. And I get up on the bear, and it's laying in a little bowl on its back, not breathing too well. And all I've got again is this arrow, and I'm thinking, well, I should go back and get the bow. I don't want to leave the bear in case it takes off. So I did what maybe doesn't make any sense. I called my wife. She's back at camp. I told her to get a hold of a guy named Mike, that I needed some help. And I was going to stay there, keep an eye on the bear. Wanted somebody from camp to come, go to my stand, and this guy knew where they were, grab my bow, come out and meet me, and I was going to finish off the bear. So I just sat on a stump about, I was 10 yards from the bear, just watching it. It was watching me. And it was hurt pretty good. It turned out that I had one lung and a big artery, evidently. So this guy named Mike, he grabbed 3, 4 other guys. They came out. The road, the bear had run actually towards the road, and it was maybe 200 yards away from the road. These guys decided to walk in where I was at instead of where the stand was. And so they were hollering at me when they got about, 100 yards away, wanting to know where the bear was. And I said, it's right here in front of me. Don't worry. Just keep coming. And the one guy had grabbed my bow. Pretty soon, they start screaming and hollering and brush breaking. And I'm thinking, what's going on? The bear's right here in front of me. Well, they'd ran into a nest of yellow jackets. And I mean, they got the crap stung out of them. And so I didn't know what was happening. So they finally came, finally got me my bow. The bear's laying there. And by then I'd figured out I'd only hit one lung. I figured I just got to hit the other lung. And the bear's getting kind of antsy. So I draw back, and I was thinking, just hit the other lung. Don't hit the sternum. Well, I hit the sternum. Chunk. Bear jumps up, and it's not happy. It runs about 10, 20 yards and just stands there. So I grab another arrow, because the guy had brought my quiver, and finally put a good hit on it. We killed it off. And so ever since then, these guys have, and I see them every year, they give me a pretty hard time about tracking bears without a bow, flip-flops, and yellow jackets. But it got pretty exciting for a while. It was a nice bear, too.
The yellow jackets didn't get you.
Nope, didn't get me.
Oh, that just makes me cringe. They're mean.
Yeah. So I just did everything wrong, and everything that I would tell somebody not to do.
You got any other ones?
That's probably the stupidest one that I can think of. I don't know. I remember the first deer that I shot with a bow, and it was, again, I had this old $50 compound, and we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have tree stands. We'd take 2x4s out, and nail them up to trees, take a can of spray paint and paint them. So I was hunting the edge of a cornfield. They were combining corn across the field or across the road. this guy had bumped some deer out, and a doe and a fawn ran in front of me about 30 yards away. Well, I didn't know any better. I yanked back, let the arrow fly, hit the deer in the kidney, the big doe, blood everywhere. It went 30 yards, dropped over dead. And so I'm thinking, well, there's nothing to this bow hunting. You just got to fling arrows at them. It's the worst thing that ever could have happened to me, because I learned the next few years that there was a whole lot more to it than that. And could have used a tracking dog a few times. But it's interesting now. There's so much good information out there. And back then, we just made it up as we went along. We had no clue what we were doing.
Yeah, that's about the worst thing you can do is just have success right away and think it's easier.
Yep. It wasn't good. But it got me hooked.
Well, there you go. Well, I appreciate you joining. It's been nice getting to know somebody local.
Yep. Yeah, it's fun talking to you. You're not too far away. Stop by sometime. Let us track a deer for you.
Sounds good. We'll have to catch up sometime.
You bet.
All right. Thanks, John.
All right. Appreciate it.